Sup, Nerdmigos, and the Jive Talking Nerd, John Norgrove. We've got Wife here. We're here for another review, Jive. We're back at it again. It's Halloween, so it's all scary stuff all the time. Nope, it was just one thing for this one because it's on the 30-minute. And this time we watched The Witches from 1990, the fantasy family film about witches. So, everybody's seen this movie. If you have not seen this movie, fucking get your shit together. Yeah. Pack all your shit up. This movie get it into one fucking place. Put it in a backpack. Fuck the hell off.
Halloween classic.
Yeah, you've seen this movie 100 times. It's legitimately.
And if you haven't, like, what are you doing?
What the fuck are you doing? Yeah, holy shit. Okay, so spoiler-free review. This is a fucking great movie. I've seen it 100 times. Go watch it. It's that easy.
Go watch it.
Comment below. Fade to black. Fucking done.
Yeah. So, spoilers.
Spoiler time.
I haven't seen this
fucking
movie.
30-year-old movie, by the way.
Yeah, right. I haven't seen this movie in like a few years, so I had
probably been like 2.
Yeah. So I kind of like it's something that I watch fairly frequently, but something that I usually have on in the background. I'm not really paying attention to because I've seen it so many times.
The reason why we're talking about this movie, the reason why this movie is in modern discussion, is because a new version of this movie is coming out this Halloween.
Yeah, and we just saw the trailer, so obviously...
we just saw the trailer and was like, okay, this doesn't look too bad. The trailer for the new one is starring Anne Hathaway. Yeah. Plethora of CGI. Who was replacing Mr. Bean? Was that... Oh, that was somebody famous as heck, too.
I don't remember.
Shit, I don't remember who it is.
It doesn't matter.
It'd be like saying Hugh Jackman. It was somebody that I was totally not expecting, and it's like way bigger than that part role.
So,
but anyway, there's a new version coming out, so we decided to watch the original 1990 classic, who is starring...
Anjelica Huston.
Anjelica Huston, yeah. I'm trying to think who's the young kid in this one. Jason Fisher. And Rowan Atkinson is the guy. Yeah, so... Yeah.
So this movie...
This
movie has this like weird sort of time frame that it's filmed in that is at the same time old-timey European but also modern for the 90s European that sort of like Willy Wonka has because it's like old-timey but like not old-timey.
Willy Wonka takes place in like the 50s or 60s.
Yes, but it also has some weird old-timey elements to it.
That's just called the 50s and 60s, dude.
No, older than that, like Victorian old-timey.
No, I think you're just confused about how fast.
No, people talk about this all the time. So this movie has a lot of that like kind of old-timey.
Yeah, this movie just takes place in like the probably late 50s, early 60s in Europe. Yeah. Somewhere, maybe in the 70s or whatever. Like, there's phones, but... not really. Yeah. So the movie follows a boy and his grandma, and it's like this, like, little boy, he has 2 mice that he is training for a mouse circus for some sort of school thing or something. It's adorable. It's adorable. His grandma is like standard issue old European grandma. She's telling a lot of stories about stuff, specifically about witches who hate children because they smell and they want all children dead. So then... something happens and they decide to go to a hotel. So they go to a hotel. Grandma and the kid are staying in a hotel. And the kid is like he's always up to stuff. He's always playing with his mice in locations and stuff. So whilst they're at this hotel, like 90 old ladies show up. Yeah,
there's like a convention and
by 90 old ladies,
Royals.
I need you to rewatch this fucking movie. It's 45 old ladies and 45 old men. Because I'm pretty certain a lot of these old ladies are just dudes in wigs. Right? And I think that that's on purpose to make them look like older and witchier. But there's a couple of scenes where it pans across and you're like, either somebody like royally screwed up the mask on this lady. Because they have like equipment, like practical equipment on for a lot of scenes. It's either like they fucked up the practical equipment application, or these are just dudes. Like there's no other way to explain it.
To understand that a little bit better, they show up to the hotel and Anjelica Huston is like the head witch, but all of these old ladies are part of the Royal Society for Prevention of Cruelty to Children.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they show up at this hotel.
And they're having a convention.
Mr. Bean is the hotel manager.
Yes.
And he is
fucking amazing. I love him so much as an actor. Yeah. Dude, he's so funny.
But he's not doing the Mr. Bean
he's not Mr. Bean.
He's like a regular dude.
He's just a concerned manager of a hotel.
That gets zero respect.
That nobody respects. And that he has to deal with like 95 Karens.
Yeah.
All showing up at the same time.
So all these witches show up. Anjelica Huston is there. She gives like this speech for the convention or whatever.
Yeah.
She's created a potion that will turn children into
They
mice.
lock the doors. So first she's like, everybody, we're here, everybody's great, and they're like, yeah, and she's like, okay, lock the fucking doors. So like one lady locks all the doors, and she's the only one who has the key. She took the key from the manager, and she locks all the doors, and then they get to take off their wigs
and their faces
and now they're in witch form, which is just beautiful fucking practical effects. More practical effects.
Yeah, really nice practical effects.
Really good practical effects.
Mostly it's bald.
Yeah, it's mostly bald stuff, but then Anjelica Huston has like this big
she's got like a
witch
whole
face.
thing happening.
It's a whole thing. So then she's like, all right guys, I got a new plan for killing kids. We've only been killing kids like one a week. It's not enough. I want more dead kids than that. Which I feel like a plight of one kid a week dying would be like noticed.
Yeah.
Mysteriously, but what the fuck ever. So she's like, I got a plan. I made this potion, and it's like a little itty bitty bottle. It's like an Underberg-sized bottle. And she's like...
smaller.
Yeah, or maybe even small. Like, here's a little bottle. She goes, it's 500 doses of this magic potion I put in here. One drip, and a kid turns into a mouse. And so, while all this is happening, our main character is hiding behind one of those, like, room dividers.
Yeah.
Like, watching this whole thing happen. So, he's rightfully freaking the fuck out, right?
Yeah.
And then his little fat friend, because there's another kid staying at the hotel. This is a little fat kid. His dad's an asshole. His mom's an asshole. He's a bit of an asshole. But all he cares about is food. So they bring him in, and he's like, you guys said that you were gonna give me like 5 cakes. I don't see 5 cakes here. And these creepy bitches are just like, they get their like stuff back together before they bring the kid on.
Yeah.
Before they bring the kid in. And she's like, we're gonna bring you the cakes. They're just around the corner. But first, you gotta drink a little bit of this potion. Or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
Right? So the kid drinks it because he's an idiot.
Yeah.
The whole movie, by the by, it's not just this stuff. He's a freaking idiot. So he drinks the potion, gets turned into a mouse, and they're like, smush the fucking mouse! And so...
Yeah, all the witches are like trying to like kill
trying
this
to
mouse.
smush the mouse, and so our main boy is like, alright, I'm gonna get while the getting's good time.
Yeah, I'm gonna escape.
So he escapes, and of course the witches see him, and he's doing all sort of escaping, and he picks up his friend mouse, and, his friend mouse is allowed to escape because of his trying to escape. And these witches chase him all over the hotel, all over the grounds outside the hotel, all over the beach behind the hotel. At one point in time, this kid, the kid is like hiding down a hill with a bush, and Anjelica Huston sees a pram, like a baby stroller with a baby in it, next to an asleep mom. Right? And so she goes, fuck this baby, and pushes it down a mountain.
So this mom is like asleep on a bench with the baby in the pram, but like at the top...
You haven't day drinked enough, that's what that is.
At like the top of like a really steep hill?
Well, at the top of a hill, and the kid's at the bottom. It's not so steep as to be a cliff.
Yeah.
Right?
But...
So Anjelica Huston just fucking yeets this baby down the hill in the pram, forcing the boy to jump out from hiding and chase after the pram
to save the baby.
Now, this boy saves the baby.
Yeah.
And then immediately turns it over to the mom, and in front of the mom, Anjelica Huston and like 9 old women start greedily reaching for this kid whilst he runs away to be chased on the beach by other old women. And this mom fucking doesn't give a shit.
There's also
bananas,
other random people.
There's so many. This kid is being chased in public by old women, and not a single soul cares about it. Which is sort of bananas.
It's
one kid being chased by one old lady, that could be a son or like a grandma and a grandkid. Yeah. That makes sense, right? A grandson. But
one kid chased by like
and a bunch of old ladies. I feel like no way in your mind can you justify, and you should at least stop one of these bitches and be like, excuse me, why the fuck are you chasing this kid before I call the damn cops?
Yeah.
Because it's super creepy.
No one cares.
What the fuck ever.
Yeah.
So they end up catching this kid. They end up forcing a bunch of potion into his head. Like a bunch of potion. So it doesn't take a long time. He transforms instantaneously. Because that's how that potion works. And so he transforms.
If you only have a little bit, it takes a while for you to turn into a mouse.
Yeah, it's like a slow transform.
Yeah.
So they transform into a mouse. They're trying to smush him. But then like whatever the fuck, there's a bunch of chaos happens. So he's able to escape. Right?
Yeah.
So he escapes.
So now we've got 2 mouse children.
There's 2 children mice, 2 real life mice, 90 witches 45 of which are men.
Yeah.
And like 5
One grandma who knows about witches.
One Mr. Bean, not currently in Bean.
One Mr. Bean,
but so,
not getting any respect.
So, no respect, this guy, so beat up. So the mouse gets to the grandma's room, and he's like, he can talk, by the way. Also, they combine the footage between, like, just clearly a mouse running, like, a course.
Yeah.
And
like a tiny puppet.
A tiny animatronic puppet of a mouse talking and moving and eating, and it is fucking so good. Yeah. When it's an animatronic mouse, it is so weird looking. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so great. So anyway, he meets up with his little fat friend who's a little fat mouse, and they decide to escape to his grandma's room because his grandma can be trusted. So he goes to his grandma and he explains to his grandma what's going on, and his grandma is just like, yes, I told you about the witch story earlier. I knew this shit. Witches are here. Let's fucking figure this out.
Yeah.
And the kid
Grandma is like
Grandma's
ride or die.
Yeah, she's the fucking best, right? And so the kid is like, I got a plan.
Also, Grandma is like sassy and clever.
Yeah. She's the best grandma, right? She's the best grandma. So
this grandma, probably a retired witch hunter, guys.
Well, I mean, she's just done been fucked with witches before, so
retired witch hunter, I'm telling you.
So the kid's like, I got a plan. We're gonna steal the potion. Then we're gonna feed it to the witches. And the grandma's like, fully support this. So the kid steals the potion from the grand what's-her-name's room. All sort of shenanigery ensues, right?
Yeah, lots of shenanigery.
So everything, imagine all of the details I'm missing, shenanigans. That's all the shenanigans. 5 pieces of flair, maybe even more. But so
no flair, all shenanigans.
All flair, no shenanigans. No, wait a minute. No flair, all shenanigans. Damn it. So shenanigans, they get you every time. Anywho, so they steal the potion. Then we get basically the fish scene from The Little Mermaid, but with mice in a hotel.
Yeah.
So these 2 mice break into the kitchen because the witches are getting.
Well, the witch
what kind
convention,
of soup are they getting?
They're all getting.
They're getting like a special soup,
cress.
right? They're getting watercress soup. Yeah, they're getting watercress soup for the witches, and everybody else is getting cockaliki.
But
so it's
they're
one
like,
pot of watercress.
The witches are
the dining room.
This scene takes place in the dining room,
yeah.
And all the witches are like blocked off in the dining room in like their own area, but they don't look like witches. They look like normal.
Yeah, they're in regular
and then
person mode.
Everyone else is somewhere else in the dining room.
Yeah, everybody else is on the other side of the wall.
The witches are the only ones who are allowed to, who are being served this cress soup.
Well, yeah, because like if you've ever been to a convention before, oftentimes you're not actually eating what's like on menu at a convention hall or at a hotel. If your hotel's hosting a convention, I've gone to a lot of these through the Masons, and a lot of times what the hotel will do is they're going to be like, here is like 2 or 3 like options.
Yeah.
Right? You know, you've got your meat option, you got your non-meat option, and then sometimes you got like a fish or a chicken option.
Yeah.
Right? And then that's what you're eating. And that isn't really like an on-menu item, and it's because they're like, from a restaurant standpoint, you would be buying a bulk amount of food specific to this convention.
Yeah, because
that has nothing to do with the rest of that. So that way, it's a closed loop, and the cost of the convention pays for the cost of that food, so you don't have to turn that cost over to other customers. Yeah. So it makes sense from a business standpoint to have shit like that separate. So they're getting watercress soup. So he puts the whole vial in the watercress soup.
To turn the witches into mice.
The fucking chefs are like cutting at these guys with cleavers.
Oh my god!
At one point, he climbs up this dude's pants.
The guy has to take his pants off.
It's great.
He's sitting there. They're putting like mouse traps at people's feet. This is clearly not how you should be handling
It's insane. Well, the idea that they're even just like swinging at him with like food grade cleavers and shit, like that's a dirty ass mouse. What are you doing? Anywho, so that shit happens.
So hilarious.
They escape out of the kitchen. They make it back to Grandma's purse. That's where the mice live. Is Grandma's purse. Yeah. So they're back at Grandma's purse. Then the ladies are just like, oh, this is so good. Oh, it's so great. Fucking.
Well, so in soup. Between these witches doing this,
whilst the witches are enjoying
the
soup,
fat kid's mom and dad.
Yeah.
And the fat kid's dad is like, oh, look at those ladies. They're having soup.
These 2 are fancy, right?
Yeah, super fancy.
They are dressed to the nines.
Yeah.
They're very, the dad's very like, I'm the fanciest guy in this room. Look at how fancy I am with the way that I'm doing everything. Yeah. Like, so they're rich people. Yeah. You know?
So dad is like, oh, waitress.
What do they have?
What is the soup? What are they having? And she's like, oh, well, they're having cress soup, but they're like a part of a thing. And he's like, oh, well, like what soups are available? And she's like, cockaliki soup. And immediately I'm like, cockaliki soup. It's delicious. I don't really like chicken noodle soup. Cockaliki soup, great soup.
I like leek and potato soup. That's
well, I said chicken noodle specifically. I like all kinds of soups, but regardless. No. So the dad's like, I don't want cockaliki, I want cress. And she's like, you can't have cress because that's for them and you're not one of them. And he's like, I want the cress. And Mr. Bean comes out and you're just like, Mr. Bean, no respect. This poor man. This poor, poor hotel manager has no control. Respect over his entire hotel. It's absurd. So finally he wears down Mr. Bean. And they're like, fine, we will bring you the cress.
Yeah. So also during this time, about 5 times throughout this movie, Grandma tries to explain to the family that their kid's a rat.
Yeah.
And they think that she's just a crazy old coot because that's obvious. She looks like a crazy old coot.
Yep.
So that's what they're doing. And so he gets the soup, and they're like, and of course the witches are like, like starting to like go, kind of like they're starting to act like a little
starting to get crazy and starting to turn into mice. But you can see like tufts of fur,
or like a little snoot applique every once in a while. Green smoke, everything's just green smoke bombs being set off indoors.
Lots of green smoke.
And so the fat kid's just like, don't let my dad eat that soup, and Grandma's just like, all right, like we got to do this. And so she just walks over there and is like, fuck your soup, and just fucks that soup off, just knocks that shit out of his hand, grabs a soup bowl, just pours that shit on the table, and is like, I said don't eat that soup. Which is a very aggressive way of dealing with it.
It was very aggressive.
It's so, like, the dad is just like, oh, what the fuck? Like, he is, like, shook, you know? And, of course, Mom is just, like, lost on all this. And she's like, don't eat that fucking soup. And then the witches start transforming and stuff. And she's like, remember when I told you your kid's a mouse? Your kid's a mouse. So she opens up the purse. All the mom does is scream, blood-curdling murder scream, and then black the fuck out. And Dad finally, like, listens to this mouse speak with words in his son's voice.
Because the mouse is like, hi, Dad, I'm a mouse.
Yeah, and the dad's just like, well, okay. Like, let's deal with this, I guess.
Like, I guess we'll figure this out.
Fucking no argument from the dad. He just accepts this shit.
Yeah.
Everybody, very accepting adults in this world. So he just accepts this shit, whatever. Whilst all this is happening, the fucking witches all finish turning into mice. Which means that Mr. Bean, as the manager of this restaurant, basically just fucking hits the red alert button, and the wait staff and the kitchen staff and the bus boys just all pick up like cleavers and rocks and just whatever heavy shit they have and just start going fucking bananas.
Because right now,
this
all
fucking
the
dining
witches are mice now in this dining room, and it just becomes a giant game of whack-a-mole.
It's a whack-a-mouse. It is a free-for-all. First of all, there's no way that these people don't know that the witches were the ones that turned into the mice because they were, like, right next door. But even if you were to assume that,
and their like,
solution to a public display of that many mice, instead of, please leave my establishment while we resolve this, reasonably, is everybody arm up, let's murder some fucking mice. Yeah. And then just start going to Murder Town. And, of course, every time they murder a mouse, there's, like, a green splat.
Yeah.
Right? Because of the magic.
Because magic in this world is colored green.
Right? So they're splatting witches. So whilst this is happening, the main witch, alright, she starts coming after Grandma, like, you did this shit, I know it was you, I'm gonna get you, I'm gonna curse on you and whatnot, right? And then turns into half mouse, half witch woman, which is like a horrible, festering, like, monster-looking thing. Yeah. And then turns into a tiny mouse, who the grandma just puts a glass pitcher on top of. Yeah. And then fucking leaves. They're done.
Yeah. Grandma doesn't even murder this lady. She's just like, and there you're done.
Pitchers her, leaves. End of scene. No, wait a minute. We're coming back to the scene because now Mr. Bean goes like this. Smash with a hammer. That's it. This is the end of Witches in England. Smash with a fucking hammer.
Yeah.
It's so good. It's just, there's no build up. It's just like,
it's absurd.
Smack.
It's so absurd.
Done. So all the witches were turned into mice and smushed, right? The grandma brings the little boy home, and
who's still a mouse.
He's still a mouse. Everybody's still a mouse, right? And so he is like, because he's like smart with Legos and stuff like that. So he has like a train to transport himself around the house, and like a little steam elevator to lift himself up to his tiny little bed and all this kind of stuff.
Grandma is so ride or die for this kid.
Yeah, she don't give a fuck, dude.
I'm gonna put you up in this tiny like dollhouse.
Yeah, like a doll mansion.
We're gonna have like Legos and like
trains and shit
machines.
To get around.
Like,
it's great.
Basically, did you watch Honey, I Shrunk the Kids and like fantasize yourself about living in like a tiny world. That's what this little mouse kid is doing. Yeah. It's fantastic.
So this kid, he's living it up, bloody Stuart Little style.
An undetermined amount of time passes.
Yeah, some amount of time. Honestly, it could be the next day. It could be a month. Who fucking knows? Right? So whatever. At some point in time, this crazy lady who dresses in all white and other than like 5 words, just giggles insanely.
Yeah.
Every second she's on screen, bloody flits over to in front of their house. All right, and then shoots a beam of light at this fucking kid, right? And the kid, through the magic of, I don't know, weird film CGI nonsense, transforms back into a full-size kid. Hey, he's a full-size naked kid.
Yeah, he first turns from a mouse into a tiny kid, and then as a kid just grows and then goes, into full-size.
Into a full-size kid. And, so he's a full-size naked kid and runs over. He's like, Grandma, I'm a full-size naked kid now. And runs over to the window and looks out the window.
But the good witch, like, missed his glasses, so she giggles again.
Hold on. The grandma brings a blanket to cover this naked kid in her house. All right, and looks out the window, and the grandma's like smiling down at this lady, and the girl like magics some glasses out of nowhere, and then magics them onto his face.
First thing the kid does, puts his hands all over the lens of his glasses.
My glasses! Oh, she got my glasses! Just like on his fucking glasses. She remembered my glasses. And then the grandma's like waving, and the kid's waving, and he's like, don't forget about Dustin, or whatever the fucking fat kid's name was.
Whatever that kid's
I have no clue.
And then she like jumps in it, and then this good witch lady jumps in her convertible, manically giggles again, waves, and then just is gone.
And just drives away.
And that's it.
Yeah, that's the end of the fucking movie.
That's it.
We don't even know if the fat kid gets transformed back. I mean, I kind of hope he does, but at the same time, like, who knows? But this movie is
or we also don't really understand anything about bad witches versus good witches.
Yeah.
There's so many questions.
And I feel like the good witch is like kind of all throughout the movie.
Yeah, she
like
is
a little bit sprinkled throughout the movie, but she's sort of like if you took a manic pixie dream girl from a rom-com and made her a background character, your mind just blocks it from existing because she's just like a bananas lady in the background, just being like, because she's crazy.
Yeah.
Honest to God, I think she only says like 10 words, dead max.
I don't think
she
has very many lines.
It's mostly just crazy laughter, but such is the tale of a kid being turned into a mouse by bad witches, and then killing all of them and turning back.
Best part of this movie is Anjelica Huston. She is.
Yeah, she's fantastic. She's
just
fierce.
A goddess.
Yeah, she's fierce.
She's fierce in a way that is difficult to describe. Her outfits
she's the best.
On point.
Yeah, she's the best. She's the best.
Yeah.
But this is, again, 5 out of 5. This is a perfect fucking movie.
5 out of 5. A movie I've been watching since I was a kid.
Yeah,
I love this movie.
Yeah, it's fantastic. If you've never seen it, you should have already seen it. We talked
and if you have seen it, give it a watch again.
Yeah, check it out.
Like,
watch it before the new one comes out so you know what's going on. Really, really just watch the movie and think back to what it was back then, because that movie is weird as shit, dude.
It's really weird.
There's a lot of weird decisions made in that movie, but they're fun decisions, and who freaking cares?
30 years later, it's an interesting age. Yeah,
it totally holds up still.
Including the effects, because they were all primarily practical.
Yeah, totally. All the effects hold up, the plot holds up, all the characters hold up, everything's good, still good about it. But, either way, I've been John Norgrove, this has been Wife, this is Review Jive. Like this video, comment below, share, subscribe, ring the bell, do all that kind of stuff, make us other people's problems. What we watched was The Witches, obviously. From 1990.
We saw it on Netflix.
It was on Netflix, yeah, so you can watch it on there.
We're going to be watching horror or Halloween-esque movies all month.
Yep. If you have one that you think we should watch, comment below and we'll watch it. Or we'll share with you the video that already exists about us watching it, because we do watch a lot of horror, even in the non-horror month.
Yeah.
But, either way, we'll catch you guys next time.